Kia ora, ko John Peri au. Ai, taka mai rā, ngā tūwhare toa, mai kia Ngāti Uitai, ana ko taku Kuia tūma te Amokura. Hau nei, tēnei ko John Peri, no te teko, e noho nei, i mihi nei ki a koutou. Taku mahi tēnei rā ki te rīchi ki a koutou. He pānui a tāta au taku whānau, te ingoa tēnei he narrative ko te ingoa ko te Amokura. I helped my Kuia te Amokura to find some money she had hidden. We searched her kite, under her mattress, under her tablecloth, in her coat pockets, and we found some. They were coins, big brown ones, a handful. Gee, she was rich. Me haere tau e moko ki te hoko parao i te toa. Let's go and buy some flour at the shop. I ran home, even though I was only 6. Now I had 2 big brown crowns at home. Kuia was waiting at the gate in her finest, a black dress as usual, an army surplus black jacket sent to her by my auntie Ua. No shoes, and in her hand her finest kitty. She was hungry, she said. She had run out of flour and she needed some urgently. She had some meaty tahu, but she wanted to make loaves of her famous pahu bread. It was summer, and the road was very stony and dusty. It didn't take too long before we crossed the bridge and were standing outside Ngātu's general store in Te Teko. The shop was a large wooden building with a long length counter inside, and Kuia and I climbed up the wooden steps into the store. Mr. Ngātu's wife was serving. The shop was full. The customers would ask for the products, the goods, and the keepers would pile them up on the shelf, on the bench, and then they would write out a docket, add it all up, pack the goods in big brown paper bags. Money was exchanged, but in some cases, especially with my family, we used a number book, an account book, and that was done before we struggled down the big steps. My Kuia waited to be served. Mrs. Ngātu came to serve us. Next! My Kuia looked. Hey, Mrs. Mangu, kei te pirangi au ki te piki prawa. I want a bag of flour. Kia ora. Mrs. Ngātu looked surprised when she realised who my Kuia was. Wait here, she said. She disappeared to the back of the shop and Mr. Ngātu came out holding a number book. And in his hand he had a sharp pencil and he was saying something under his breath. Hey, you can't have anything. Your number is 32 pounds, Mrs. Peri. I've got money, you mungu. Here. And she handed over her handful of coins. Mr. Ngātu counted them quickly. 2 shillings and 4pence, Mrs. Peri. Not enough. I stepped forward. I got some, I said, bravely. I handed over my fortune. He counted it. 4pence, John. Not enough, lad. Okay, can Kuia have some flour then? He looked at me. No, boy. How was she going to pay me? I leaned over to Kuia, who was standing there looking absolutely confused. Ke he taku piki parawa, where's my bag of flour? I told her that her number was too much, and Mr. Ngātu said no more. Oh my goodness. We made our way down the stairs and my Kuia was shocked. She began to cry, and I began to cry for her. This was embarrassing for her, and she was hungry and she needed that bread. Her tears broke my heart and she sat down by the horse rail in front of the shop. I couldn't stop her tears falling down her front. She shook. Mr. Ngātu came down the stairs. He saw her pain, he saw her hunger. Mrs. Peri, your account is too much. Can you find some money to pay me? My Kuia looked away. She had no solution. She was confused and didn't know a way out of this. I tell you what, I'll give you 12 pounds of flour and I'll book it up to your son Peri. But please, try and find some money. He looked at me. I could see his pain. I could see his embarrassment as well. Kuia and I walked slowly back to Te Mapo. We were sad, and dinner that night was meaty tahu and parawa pahu bread. And my Kuia was thinking. Next morning, my Kuia came over to our house to fetch me, and we wandered over to her whare. Ki runga, she said, up there. and she pointed into the rafters, and up there were 3 large jute bags. I swung into the rafters and I passed them down. Kuia opened them and gently shook them, and 20 fine kete fell to the floor. They were her finest, beautifully crafted and stunning in white, purple and yellow. They were kete used by wahine taurangatira, women of high birth, and they were treasures. She made these over the last 2 years. She loved them, she sorted through them and chose 12 of the best. Then we walked over to Puchi O'Brien's house. She was the Māori Welfare Women's League woman in Te Teko. Kuia knocked at her door. Puchi came to the door. She looked delighted. Ko mai e koe. She gave my Kuia a long hug. I thought she was such a nice lady, that Puchi. Kuia sat down. Puchi bought her a cup of tea. They were rich people, I thought. They had floor coverings, shoes, curtains, and an electric jug. Flash and worlds apart from our houses at the Mapo. But Puchi had worked hard as a nurse and she deserved everything she had. She noticed Kuia's bundle of kete. How haene, what are these? My Kuia explained that she needed to sell them so she could pay for her nama at Ngātu's. Puchi looked shocked and concerned. I tell you what, Kui, these are the best kete I've ever seen. I've got a Māori Welfare Women's League hui at Rotoichi this weekend, and I can sell them for you. But Kuia, I need you to come so they could meet the artist. Kuia and I walked home. She was humming. She looked happier. I get to ride in the kawana car, she chuckled, the government car. It was dark when Puchi and her kawana car pulled up outside Kuia's house. It was a grey Ford Popular. We crammed into the back, and our bags of kete stacked high to one side, and the car bumped and swayed its way to Rotoichi. My goodness, hundreds of women were there. Kui could tell they were women of high birth, probably from Waikato, because Kui said the ladies from there have used handkerchiefs and they have umbrellas. Yeah, none of them was good as my Kuia though. My Kuia was special. Puchi went off to find someone, and she came back with a lady from Kokohino called Millie, and she helped Kuia put the kete on our table with white tablecloths. The kete looked amazing. A lady came over and she put sticky labels on them, which had a 2 and a 5 on them. I didn't know why, nor did my Kuia. Millie did all the talking. My mum Rere arrived with my auntie Mihi, and they helped. Everyone was talking. Some of the women started pulling at the kete and arguing. Some, loud like women of high birth do, shouted. Heck, some of them were waving money in the air. I rescued my Kuia, and we slipped into the kitchen for kai. And then we looked back, and there was my mum Rere, Mihi and Millie still hard at it. We climbed into the kawana car. Time to go home. Puchi seemed to be smiling. Kuia seemed overawed by this madness. All the kete were sold. Puchi was such a good lady. We arrived at the teko, and my Kuia asked Puchi to stop at Ngātu's shop. It was closed. Puchi leaned over the seat. Here, Kui, we sold all your kete. Here is £150. Kuia gathered the money and she kissed Puchi, and she was so happy. We made our way to the rear of the shop. It smelt of curry. We knocked, and Mr. Nathu came to the door. Hello, Mrs. Peri, can I help you? Anei te nama, I got money for my nama. She held out all the money, £150. Goodness, he counted out the money. He took out some of the paper money. That's it, no more nama, he said, and he smiled. Anei anō he nama moa pōpō. Take some more of money for my next nama. He took out £20 and he handed the bundle back to Kui. He looked at me. You tell Kuia she has enough money for her nama for the next 6 months, boy. Okay, sir, thank you. Come on, Kuia. Rere and Mihi were already at Kuia's house when we arrived. Kuia had shared how she paid her nama, and she was now nama free until Christmas. She handed Rere and Mihi some paper money. They immediately gave it back. That evening I stayed with my kuia. We had a good time talking about those noisy Waikato women who brought her a kite and jumped around and shouted. She joked about the way they grabbed at things and waved their money and used handkerchiefs. She laughed and laughed. I liked it, Mr. Natu. He looks after my kuia even though she had a big number. It was late and the fire was leaping about. Kuia moved outside and came back with some harakeke, some fine flax. She washed her hands and sent her karakia, a prayer, into the heavens for thanks and inspiration. I found my wooden truck, which I had whittled, and Kuia and I settled down into an evening of quietness. Life is good in Te Mapo. The bread in Te Mapo is fabulous. And I wonder how much money Kuia has hidden away. I don't care really, because my kuia is happy. She is really happy.